Welcome to the Motormouth YouTube channel. I'm Zach.
I'm Andrea.
And we do full-length car reviews every week, and halfway through we stop for a segment called Questions, Coffee, and Cars. So now we've made it a standalone segment. How do you play along?
Yeah, it's been so popular. We put a post out on Instagram, usually on Sunday if we're in town in the morning, and you follow along at Motormouth_Andrea. Get your questions in. It's only up for a short time because we get so many in.
Time now for Questions, Coffee, and Cars.
Your questions from Instagram.
My 76-year-old mom may finally be moving on from her 22-year-old Honda CR-V. Wow. Thoughts on the Mitsubishi RVR as a replacement or an alternative? She likes the visibility and height of the RVR, but what is Mitsubishi reliability like long term?
Well, the RVR was the original subcompact crossover. People
Yeah.
don't realize that. Now everybody's raced into that space. And even if you look at it compared to most others, it is really quite small. They have also the Eclipse Cross is another one that you can look at.
There's not a ton of power, obviously. The 2-liter
Don't get that
all-wheel
one.
drive models has 148 horsepower. And then you could get the
That's the
2.4
one you want,
liter
yeah.
with 168 horsepower. The first one is priced under 27,000 Canadian, which is a good price. And then the more powerful, if I'd like to say, is under 30,000. But you know what? There's just so many options now in this category. I mean, things have kind of changed since the RVR first came out. Corolla Cross, Kia Seltos. Mitsubishi reliability is very good. Repair Pal gives it a 4 out of 5 score, which is excellent. So I think you don't have to worry about long-term reliability. And also the RVR has been around for a long time.
And they haven't changed it for a long time. I mean, they've tweaked things here and there, but for the most part, it's the same.
Yeah.
Go get a Subaru Crosstrek.
I value both of your educated opinions, and I'm curious which each of you choose for extended backroad retirement touring in X3 or X3 M40i. Is the engine worth the loss of ride comfort?
Oh, hell yes.
That's a good question.
Yes. Yes. Get the inline six. What did BMW make their whole business on? The inline six.
You know, here's something interesting. Just because you're talking about comfort level, we have friends who used to drive a Macan base model, found the suspension too firm. So they went to an X3 and they were really specific about getting the base model for that reason, for comfort level. For Zach and I, we would get the more powerful for sure, just because you go on those long road trips. It just goes. Like, what an amazing engine.
So even though the X3 M40i does come with more M performance goodies, you do get variableness in the suspension. So you can put it in a more comfort setting because it is a variable suspension. And you might want to do yourself a favor if it's a little bit too harsh and you're driving it on backcountry roads, you can always easily go to a smaller wheel and tire.
True.
A smaller wheel will give you more sidewall on the tire, which will make a huge difference on backcountry roads. So hopefully the dealer will let you take it out on the roads you want to drive it on.
I'm not sure I could handle the smaller wheels. It just doesn't look as good.
Your backside would like it, Andrea.
Yeah, but I don't know, if you're getting that vehicle, you got to get the proper wheels. I'm really torn. I think that you have to drive both and you have to see for yourself what you think. I would get the more powerful engine, but you really have to drive if you're looking for comfort level.
Yep.
Reliability scores of manufacturers is something which is talked about a lot these days. How much do you think it should be considered, or should it matter when purchasing a new car?
Interestingly, J.D. Power came out with, I think it was the 3-year dependability study.
Yeah.
And over the years, all cars, so you take the whole block of manufacturers, they have been improving year over year, and the gap from top to bottom has been collapsing.
Yeah.
Last year was the first year where they all went a step backwards, and that's all because of the in-dash technology. That's really killing some brands when it comes to reliability. There's nothing worse than having to go back to the dealer chasing electrical problems.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where you want to do your search.
Yeah, and I think that's the key. Infotainment systems, especially if they're new, can have a lot of issues, glitchiness. it's not that it's serious. It's just you're making more stops to the dealership. I talk to a ton of people each day. Some of them will say to me, Andrea, the number one thing for me is reliability and dependability. If that's the case, tried and true,
Get a
Toyota
Lexus.
or Lexus.
Yeah.
But if you're not so fussed about it, it really depends on the person. I mean, we aren't so fussed about it. We have owned plenty of German vehicles. Most of them have been very good for us. But if you are, look to a vehicle that is dependable. What do you think car manufacturers can do to convince motorists in the US and Canada that station wagons can be elegant and practical solutions to their motoring needs? I don't think that people don't think that station wagons are not elegant or practical. They're both of those things. I just think that people are crazy about SUVs and they like the ride height that they offer.
Even people that are into station wagons, the manufacturers have outbacked them, is what I call it. You see the Audi A4 station wagon is now the all-road. They lift it up. They put the cladding on it, just like Subaru did with the Outback way back in the 90s. Mercedes-Benz even had an E-Class.
Yeah.
It's Cross something. I can't remember the name of it. Same thing, raised it, put the cladding on it. The demise of the good old station wagon is fully entrenched. There's really not many left. Speaking of the Subaru Outback, that really is a station wagon. So if you like station wagons, however, that one isn't that elegant.
No, and Audi's got a station wagon as well.
Oh, the RS6. The RS6 is hot.
There is no way that manufacturers are going to take a chance and bring out a station wagon and hope it sells. They're just not. Not when subcompact, compact, mid-size SUVs are selling like crazy.
Interestingly, though, the RS6 Avant from Audi was such a huge sales success for Audi. The rumor is BMW is bringing the M5 wagon to North America, which we never had. So for that end of the market, there's a few options.
Yeah, well, I spoke to the dealership at Audi about that, and he said that's in its own class. Like, they don't sell that many of them because they don't get that many in, and they're so expensive. So
And hot.
Yeah, it's pretty hot. What car dealership add-ons are good to get and what are totally worthless? We mostly just get the rubber mats. We do that as an add-on.
Okay, so I think what they're talking about are all the packages. So when you go from the salesperson to the business office, it's not business. It's another salesperson, okay? So when they sell you, do not buy things like putting nitrogen in the tires. That's just like ridiculous. Do not get etching on the glass for your serial number, your VIN number, your VIN. I shouldn't say VIN number because N stands for number. Your VIN. You shouldn't get any kind of fabric protection or anything. You can get all of that stuff like fabric protection, paint protection, rust proofing away from the dealer, often for less.
Yeah.
Now, when you start to look at some packages, they include like a maintenance package, so 3 years of your annual maintenance for a set fee isn't a bad deal. However, most people, what do, Andrea? They lease or finance, right?
Yep.
So what they're doing is they're taking that, say it's $1,500, you're paying interest on that.
Yes.
So just think about that.
And also I think that you have to take a look at the package and you have to see if it's even worth it and run the numbers. There's a lot of due diligence involved here. There is one thing that we did with our Honda Civic that we bought because we have new drivers, and Zach was kind of hesitant to get it. But I think he agrees with me. I pushed for it. It
was expensive.
It was expensive, but if there is an accident and the car gets written off, we get back all of our money that we put into it.
Yeah, we get 5% more each year. So that is replacement insurance.
Yeah. I think that was worth it for us with the new driver. We wouldn't do it personally if it's just us driving the car, but with them, you don't want to be totally without a car. Luckily, I haven't needed it.
Okay, so when you get into that sales office, it's a salesperson, straight in the eye and say, I want to pay for the car and the taxes, and that's it. And they will put the pressure on you.
Yeah.
Well, this is a package, this is a protection package, all that kind of stuff. You don't have to buy any of that from the dealer. You can get a lot of that stuff done away from the dealer. It's another sales pitch. So put your your armor on and get in there and do battle.
And a lot of times they'll try and push for an extended warranty, which is interesting on maybe a Kia that has already a 5-year warranty. But the way that they convince people is that they say, look, you either have to buy it now or you can't buy it from the dealership later. That is true about the dealership. You can't buy the extended warranty, let's say 5 years later, but you could go to a third party and get an extended warranty on your vehicle if you feel more comfortable.
Yeah, and you're paying interest on that money all the way along.
What are your thoughts on the X3m, X4m? Brand name aside, the performance looks miles ahead of the Macan GTS. It does have more horsepower and torque, over 500 horsepower for the BMW versus the Macan. They're different. That BMW is pretty special. It's also bigger. You have more rear leg room than you do in the Macan.
Bigger.
Yeah. And then suspension-wise, they're both pretty firm. I mean, that BMW can get a little bit rough, so you have to like that kind of feel.
All right, so it really comes down to what you really want to use it for. If you're just a couple or a single person, the Macan is loads of fun. If you're using it for family duty, get the X3.
Yeah.
It's way bigger.
Do you think Toyota offers too many different vehicles? I watched your review of the Crown, and you guys seem to be confused on why you would buy the Crown over a Camry or Prius. I just want to touch on the portfolio. I think it's great that Toyota has an extended portfolio from sports cars with manual transmissions to subcompact SUVs and to sedans and hybrids and plug-in hybrids and
trucks.
one EV. And I think it's important for these brands to show that they can build different vehicles. As for the Crown, we both agree that full-size sedans, no one is buying anymore, and I don't know why they would bring it in.
Okay, when we did the Crown video, we went through all the vehicles that have been canceled, from the Maxima to the Passat and so on. There's about 5 or 6 of them that have all been canceled in the large sedan category. Well, maybe Toyota's thinking they're all exiting that, including the Avalon, by the way, which is one of their cars. Everybody's exiting that space. We'll drop in a performance hybrid. And so if people want a large car, we'll sell them a Crown. It might not be so daft after all, but the thing is, they just have more engineering and production might than any other company in the world, with over 10 million cars sold. There's not a crack they can't fill with a new product.
And because it's a hybrid with 2 hybrid variations and it's a full-size sedan, you might be able to get one because they're not as popular, and then you can drive a hybrid. And that 2.5-liter hybrid, it gets amazing fuel economy, the Crown. I had a lot of fun with the Hybrid Max. I'm a big fan of that powertrain. Great content. Thanks so much. I love VW, but are concerned with their reliability. Why wouldn't all automakers make reliable cars? Hard to believe that only Toyota has the know-how on reliability, but VW doesn't. Or is it a dollars issue? Curious about your thoughts. Can I just jump in with this? I actually asked a top executive from Volkswagen on the ID Buzz unveiling, and a lot of people feel that if you buy a Volkswagen in Mexico versus North America or Germany that it's going to be crap. And he basically said, look, we have the same standards in place. We don't want to produce an unreliable vehicle. And they really feel that they are producing the same vehicle that they're producing in Germany, in Mexico, and North America. They have certain standards.
Okay, so Thomas Tetzlaff, who is the PR rep for Canada, tells the story that when they first moved Golf production from Wolfsburg to Puebla in Mexico, they had a dealer meeting, and they had 2 of them in a big ballroom. One was made in Germany, one was made in Mexico. They asked all the sales associates from all over the country to walk around and put their name down on which one they thought it was.
Yeah.
They got it wrong, and they thought the Mexican one was the German one.
See?
And so, listen, and when people go on, I'm not buying it because it's made there, it's like, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. If you've ever been to a car plant, and most people haven't, the technology, the robotics, the processes in place are the same in Wolfsburg in Germany that they are in Puebla. And the Puebla factory is the second largest factory next to the Wolfsburg factory in Germany. So they know what they're doing there. They're just Mexican and not Germans.
And I also think you have to remember that if a vehicle is brand new, it can have some glitches. If it's a vehicle that's been around for a while, you know, the third, fourth year is usually pretty reliable, whether it's made in Mexico, North America, or Germany.
Okay, so one example I use is when the Pathfinder, the last generation Pathfinder came out. It came out with a continuously variable transmission. It was plagued with problems for the first couple of years. And then the last year they made it, it was actually one of the most reliable vehicles in its class. So they work on it, hopefully all the way through production. And then by the end, away you go.
The Acura RDX is another perfect example of that. When it first came out,
in 2019,
wow, it had lots of problems. And now, boy, it's super reliable. So that would be another one to consider. But we don't really worry so much about that. I mean, I think there can be individual cars that you can get that maybe are lemons. Unfortunately, it's just it's bad luck.
I'm more a buy what you like.
Yeah,
right?
same.
Buy what you like.
Buy what you like.
You know, that's the way I look at it.
For Canada, thoughts on using regular versus premium gas interchangeably and its effect on the engine, irrespective of the car model, make, and there's no need of having premium gas from manufacturers.
Can I go?
Go.
If your car does not need premium gas, just put in regular.
Oh, yeah.
Now, there is one exception. If you know the regulations in Canada, regular gas now has to have 10% ethanol, right? And it's when you get only select premium brands, and it's not even like the 91 octane, it's like the 94 octane. The most expensive gas is ethanol free. So if you're all weird about having some ethanol in there, and some people are, then you would have to spend for the most expensive fuel. But if your car does not require premium gas, put in regular, save the money.
You're basically, just going to pay more money. There's absolutely no benefits to put premium fuel in a vehicle that's been tuned to use regular fuel. Don't do it.
Other way round is a different story.
Yeah.
If your engine is programmed to use premium fuel and you put in regular, you're not getting the benefit.
Well, you're not getting the fuel economy and you're not getting the performance. But it is allowed if you don't want to spend that kind of money. Like some people have said with the Lexus hybrid, the NX, they've said, it recommends premium fuel, but you can use regular. Well, you might not get the fuel economy that you actually want if you don't use premium. Do you think there is less enthusiasm for cars today, given with the current trends in the auto industry? I'm interested to know why some millennials aren't interested in cars compared to older generations. What do you think the industry should do to reflect these trends? I can tell you there have been surveys and surveys done on this, and the auto industry doesn't like it. But it is expensive. Our kids are a perfect example. They're Gen Z.
Drea, it's Gen Z.
And the youngest drives, but he only drives because we pay for everything because he couldn't afford it. And the older one doesn't like driving. He actually doesn't like it. Yeah, he likes Uber. He takes the bus. He rides his bike. He just has absolutely no interest in driving. He doesn't want to pay for insurance. He doesn't want to pay for gas, and he feels that cars are much too expensive.
Yeah, so here's an anecdote based on cars generally, nothing to do with this young generation. So we have seen in the Canadian market, the adoption of EV intenders drop by 13 percentage points from 22 to 23. Yep. And the number one reason is price. So yes, people don't want to spend money on an electric vehicle at interest rates of 8%. Yeah. Then the price gets way too expensive. And it's the same thing for young people. Rent in certain cities is astronomical. And then you've got to factor in insurance, gas, and a car. They just can't afford it.
Yeah, and our youngest even said, like, if you weren't helping me out with all this, I wouldn't run a car. And actually, I think that's pretty fair.
It's our car. We run the car. He just gets to drive it once in a while.
Yes, that is true. Alfa Romeo has raised in the JD Power ranking. How about that? for Alfa Romeo.
Okay, so JD Power does 2 studies. The first one is the initial quality study. So that's vehicles in the first 90 days of ownership. And I'll get back to that in a second. The other one is the 3-year dependability study.
Yeah.
So that's following cars that people have driven for 3 years. That's a pretty good study. The initial quality study, Andrea, is all of those little niggly things that happen when you first get a car, the Bluetooth doesn't connect, all that kind of stuff. Anything that's really major goes back to the dealer.
I always say to Zach, every time we do reviews of the Stelvio and the Giulia, and remember, they're not brand new anymore. Like, these aren't brand new models.
They've been around for a while.
Yeah, so I think that it kind of makes sense that maybe Alfa Romeo has tweaked all of it, like we talked about with the RDX. And now these vehicles are somewhat reliable.
But it's not just that. Stellantis, the parent company, that's Chrysler, they dominated the initial quality study for this year. And they put a real focus on quality, which shows if brands put their mind to it, they can really rectify these things. And I think that we're seeing that trend. Dodge is indexed well above the industry average over the last little while, which is, it's heartening to see because we love driving Alfa Romeos. We haven't been able to fully endorse them because of the reliability, so hopefully that's all going to change.
Yeah, and Ford has admitted that they are plagued with reliability problems right now. One of the reasons, they've got a lot of new vehicles. They're aware of it and they're working on it. So like we said before when we started this segment today, no one wants to be unreliable. You know, they all want to put their best foot forward and put out a good model.
When I say I'm going to be home at 2 o'clock, I'm home at 2 o'clock. I'm Mr. Reliable.
Yeah, he's pretty reliable. We're both good with time. Because
I
we
hate
don't
that.
like people who are late. I always say, why did they think that their time is more important than mine to make me wait for 10 minutes? And it drives me crazy.
And there's always somebody in the family, they go, oh, there's Sally, there's Bob. They're always late.
Yeah.
No, it's basically you've made a decision not to be on time and you're pissing us off.
You are. And our kids are never late
No,
either.
they're very good.
They're very prompt.
I'm always early. If I've got an appointment,
too.
I'm always 5 minutes early.
What are your thoughts on EVs? I'm having a hard time believing that going electric is the ideal solution. Wouldn't we get our best bang for our buck by going 100% hybrid or even PHEV? For the same amount of battery material, we could make so many more cars that would be better for the planet. I find we are pushing EVs as a marketing strategy. I can't tell you how much we talk about this, how PHEVs and hybrids have smaller batteries. Do you know how many PHEVs and hybrids we can produce to one EV? Look at the Ram pickup truck.
It's almost 230 kilowatt hour battery. Just think about this.
Wow.
One guy's driving his Ram pickup truck, the new REV from Ram. It's going to be out in 2025. It's got roughly a 230 kilowatt hour battery. So what's the size of a RAV4, the most popular passenger vehicle, a RAV4 hybrid battery? 1.6 kilowatt hour battery.
And then the RAV4 PHEV has an 18.1 kilowatt hour battery. Of course, we could produce more of them, and I think we would be better off because EVs are way too expensive.
Okay, so Toyota, back to the largest car maker in the world, has been hitting this drum for many years now. There's only so many resources available in the world right now, and especially with supply chain issues. Everybody's chasing lithium and all of the materials that go into making batteries. And so instead of having 5 to 10% of people with pure EVs, if you could have 80, 90, 100% of people driving hybrids and plug-in hybrids, you could really reduce what the goal is here to reduce CO2. You could really knock it down 30, 40% instead of having only 10% using none. It's crazy.
Even look at the Prius, not the Prime, just the regular Prius, and the fuel economy is amazing, and it's an affordable option, as is the RAV4 hybrid and other hybrids out there.
So this is the last question,
this is our last question. Would you go all out on the VW TAOS or go for the mid-comfort line Tiguan? We like having space. We're a small family of 3 plus 1 dog. My wife loves the pano sunroof, but for the Tiguan, it's only available on the R line. I think that, I don't know if you've driven both, but I think that will be your deciding factor between the two.
Okay, so TAOS, if you go and watch our video and the one of the Tiguan, they're excellent, by the way. Watch them several times and share with your friends and family. What we basically said about the TAOS is the fact that this is a compact SUV replacement. It's so roomy in the first and second row.
Yeah.
The cargo space is very good. You do get the big panel roof. It's fun to drive because they got rid of the Golf and they got rid of the Jetta sport wagon. They kind of brought in a car-like small SUV. The Tiguan, however, is bigger.
It is bigger, and the TAOS has a dual clutch transmission, which people complain about it being too jerky, especially women, believe it or not. So get your wife to drive it, make sure she likes it. She might be fine without the panoramic sunroof in the Tiguan if she doesn't like the way the TAOS drives. I like both. I think they're both fantastic, but I feel that the Tiguan just feels a little bit more substantial.
It is more substantial. It's bigger. It's got a bigger engine and everything. All right, we're all done?
Yeah, we're
How
all
do you play
done.
along again, Andrea?
Follow along, Motormouth_Andrea. I put a post out with us holding coffees.
Not holding hands.
No, not
just
holding
coffees.
hands. Get your questions in. It's up for a short time. Once we gather up all of our questions for the show, we record it.
All right, we'll see you next one.
Yeah.